Hello, everybody. Welcome back. As always, I am Jay, the one who's not cool enough to get a code name yet. Checking in again with the Energon universe, this time with issue 2 of Duke, the first half of the G.I. Joe books. Not exactly a whole lot new to add on in my end. The reception of the overall Energon universe is definitely consistently staying very high, so we're just going to jump right in, don't have a whole lot new to check in with. So, previously in the Adventures of Duke, Sergeant Conrad Duke Hauser, following an up-close encounter with the Decepticons, has gone a wee bit cuckoo, and after the government covered up the affairs of the Transformers, Duke has gone AWOL to get his own investigation underway. This leads him to meeting a woman named Dr. Adelaide Burkhart, who believes the Transformers are based on technology she developed when she still worked for the military that's fallen into wrong hands and is being used for the forces of evil. This points Duke towards Mars Industries, where he discovers a secret underground weapons facility stocked to the brim with all sorts of high-tech weaponry and advanced gadgets. Unfortunately, before he can get any proof, he's caught and thrown out. And in response, the leader of Mars Industries, the mysterious Destro, has Dr. Burkhart killed and Duke framed for the affair. Now on the run, Colonel Hawk, his former commander, has dispatched 2 other soldiers to capture Duke and bring him in to figure out just what the fuck is going on with him. This puts us at the beginning of issue 2, so as always a quick plot recap. The issue opens up with a man named Lance Steinberg, a mechanic and childhood friend of Duke's, who I believe is also a G.I. Joe member. I think his name is Clutch, because that's what Duke calls him throughout the book. I'm not entirely sure, though, but that sounds right to me. Anyways, we open up at his little junkyard chop shop thing, whatever, where Duke's arrived to hide out from the military. After explaining the details to his friend, he shows him the mysterious tech he liberated from Dr. Burkhart and Mars Industries, which Clutch reveals to be some sort of highly advanced tracking device, which, after he taps into, sends out a signal telling him exactly where he needs to be and where exactly the source of the signal is being transferred to. However, Duke doesn't get any time to plan ahead, as the 2 agents Hawk dispatched, Rock and Roll and Stalker, attack him at the junkyard, forcing the 2 to flee, but unfortunately they don't get very far, and Duke, exhausted and injured, is taken down and captured, and him and his friend are dragged off to the Pit, formerly an advanced military base that was decommissioned in the 80s, a joke to the original G.I. Joe comic as the Pit was their secret base, but is now being used as a secret underground prison for high-profile criminals. Duke and Clutch are locked up in the Pit, and the issue ends with them meeting a fellow prisoner in there, who is revealed to be the Baroness, who plans to strike a deal with the 2 to escape. So this is actually a pretty short issue. I mean, short in like a literal sense. It's a couple of pages shorter than the previous couple of issues, and even the standard for the other Energon Universe books. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a lot of just kind of slow character building with Duke and his friend, and introducing them. And I like that. I like Clutch as a character. He's very atypical compared to Duke, where Duke's kind of a very honor-bound military guy. He's very... Well, I guess the easiest way to say is that he's the exact opposite of Duke, and they play off each other well. There's actually very little in terms of plot progression here. It's, again, we get the little bit of setting up what Duke had taken from Dr. Burkhart, which was, again, that satellite GPS thing. And that's really all that actually happens in this book beyond them getting captured at the end. It is a lot of them just talking, a lot of them just kind of building their backstories, which is good. I really like it. It doesn't feel unnatural the way everything's brought up. It does feel very naturally built. They set up that Duke used to be very impulsive, very immature, and he's kind of been changed by the military, which is nice. It kind of shows a little bit in his character already, where he does seem very impulsive. But I do like that they set that up, that very noticeable change in his backstory there that builds his character and the way he reacts. Rock and Roll and Stalker don't really get to do anything. It's mostly one extended chase sequence for the rest of the book after this point. Rock and Roll seems like he's going to be a bit of a comedy character, where he's hit the page of him is him setting up his big fucking machine gun and a boombox, and he's got rock music blaring as he's trying to gun down Duke. Stalker's more of just kind of a straight-laced guy, but he doesn't really do or say anything. He has like one-page dialogue that isn't exposition. So I don't really know what his character is going to be like. But they seem like they're going to be fine. They seem like they're going to be entertaining characters. And I like the introduction of the pit early. I like the little nod there to the original G.I. Joe in the comic. Obviously, I'm sure they're going to eventually, once G.I. Joe becomes a thing, turn that into their base proper, which is going to be interesting. I think will also be interesting, too, because then we have the Baroness here in the prison, and I don't know how that's going to play out with them having a secret base that one of the leaders of Cobra already knows about. That's going to be interesting. I wonder how they're going to do that. I wonder how they're going to play the Baroness, because a lot of times the Baroness is kind of not quite Starscreamy in the way that, like, Starscream is, but she's very much usually cast in a lot of later G.I. Joe media as, like, constantly switching sides, more or less, but not for, like, her own self-serving morals kind of thing. Like, Destro is very much a Starscream type, where he's constantly trying to kick Cobra Commander's ass and take over Cobra, but Baroness is more doing her own thing. And I think that's interesting, and I'm wondering how they're going to play with her. She has, like, a page and a half in this, so I really don't know what they're planning on doing with her. But I like her look. She looks pretty good. She looks very recognizable as being the Baroness, which obviously is the goal. Again, I'm not really too familiar with, like, I don't want to say the B-listers of G.I. Joe in case somebody gets mad, but, like, beyond, like, Duke and Snake Eyes and, like, a couple of the joke characters and the main Cobra guys, I really don't know too many of the other characters, so I don't know how accurate they're depicted, both personality and appearance-wise, but, I mean, Duke at least looks like Duke. So far, Cobra Commander and Destro and everybody else look like how they should from, like, the old 80s show and the toys. And the comics as well. But I think that's good. I like that they're sticking close to the designs, but they're allowing the artist to put his own spin on it. It looks very unique. Overall, again, there really isn't a whole lot else to say in this issue. It's kind of sparse, but not in a bad way. Everything that happens is good. I like the chase scene a lot, even though it's not particularly long. Again, I really like the art. It keeps up that sort of color palette from the previous book. A lot of, like, again, not necessarily drab is the wrong word, but very muted color tones, and it looks really good. I really like the environment designs. We get a nice cross-section of the pit, and it looks really good. Like, it's, you know, it's obviously been abandoned, so you get a lot of, like, it looks decrepit, and the art style and the color palette really makes it look good. And then, of course, you have the secret prison at the bottom, and you get that hard contrast of this, like, shiny tech, and it's this dark blue color, and it looks really nice, and I love that contrast. But, yeah, there isn't a whole lot else to say in this issue. There's some good world building, some relatively subtle world building with a lot of, like, background shots for the characters. But beyond that, not a whole lot else to say. So, again, good issue. Honestly, I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it's still good. It's not like it's gotten worse. I just think there's a little less in this issue to talk about and focus on, so in general, it's not as good. But it's still staying strong. I'm looking forward to the third issue. I'm looking forward to the rest of the Energon universe stuff. And I will see you all next time.